India has demonstrated considerable restraint in selection of targets and methods of execution. So this is what the Indian Army has put out as a press release. It's been confirmed on Twitter by the Indian Army's press wing, and they have code-named this operation Operation Sindoor. So I think that's a very strong symbolic significance for all the women who lost their husbands, for all the women who lost their sons, for all the sisters who lost their brothers in that dastardly attack that we saw in Pahalgam on the 22nd of April. If Ishan is there, Ishan, what activity are you picking up now in response? All right, if Akash is there, Akash, what activity are you now picking up in response to what India has done, in response to what the Indian Armed Forces have launched, that is Operation Sindoor?
Well, DGISPR is clearly saying that, they are going to, in fact, launch a counter-attack, though they will choose the time and the target. But we are also learning that Pakistani, jets are very much there in the air. But Zaka, Indian air defense is very much active. And also on the other side, we have the violation where, heavy caliber mortar is being fired, in fact, from the other side of the boundary in Rajouri and Poonch sector, that is in Jammu, south of Pir Panjal. Violation is happening, and it is for the first time in the last 12 days. In fact, even in the last 12 days, we have seen a number of violations, but this is for the first time when artillery is being fired after this sort of, action by Indian Armed Forces. Now Pakistan is also violating ceasefire, firing, heavy weapons, heavy caliber weapons. Also, it has been said. In fact, Pakistani handles have been, saying that now, Pakistan is all set to respond. Though at this point in time, while we say that this was a calibrated, action, while we say that this was a pre-planned action, Indian Armed Forces are also ready. And we have been told that air defense system, the entire air defense system is very much active. Indian Air Force jets are in fact in the air as of now. I am in Srinagar. I'm not seeing any sort of activity, but as Ishan pointed out, we have heard at least two, major sound explosions possibly. Where it has happened, we are still not sure, but it is calm here in Srinagar, Zaka. We have got some sort of sound of maybe the Indian Air Force's jet.
Okay.
But as of now, it is all calm in India.
We've got more in terms of release
escalatory
from the Indian Army. The Ministry of Defence, Government of India spokesperson, MOD spokesperson, has just put this out, the press release. It's been tweeted as well. It's on the PIB website, the Press Information Bureau. Hashtag Operation Sindoor, a precise and restrained response to the barbaric Pahalgam terror attack that claimed 26 lives, including one Nepali citizen. Focus strikes were carried out on 9 terrorist infrastructure sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, targeting the roots of cross-border terror planning. Importantly, no Pakistani military facilities were hit, reflecting India's calibrated and non-escalatory approach. This operation underscores India's resolve to hold the perpetrators accountable while avoiding unnecessary provocation. A detailed briefing on the operation will follow later today. This is, again, confirmation now from the Ministry of Defence spokesperson. Arunima, I think the important lines to underline here are that these are non-escalatory in nature, no Pakistani military facilities were hit, that India has adopted a calibrated and non-escalatory approach, thereby underscoring India's resolve to hold the perpetrators accountable while at the same time avoiding any unnecessary provocation. How may this, A, first of all, explain to our viewers why this is important, and B, how may this be viewed in Pakistan?
The TRF, the terrorist front, which initially claimed responsibility for the Pahalgam attack, considered a front of Lashkar-e-Toiba. TRF had subsequently gone back on their claim that it was a targeted, attack by them because of perhaps the pressure in Kashmir. But now Indian Armed Forces, Indian Air Forces have taken this Operation Sindoor to its logical conclusion. Muridke, where the Lashkar-e-Toiba headquarters is, it has been hit, and Indian agencies believe that there has been a considerable damage done to the Lashkar-e-Toiba headquarters. Two of the terrorists who have been identified, whose sketches have been released, are believed to be Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists, Abu Hamza and Talabhai. They're believed to be Lashkar Toiba cadres sent from across POK from Muridke to Pahalgam, and their headquarters in Muridke have now been hit. That is what Manoj is confirming. So that's a major success for our Indian intelligence agencies, for our Indian armed forces. Of course, India is maintaining that the strike has been only on terror facility. Pakistan is calling it a strike on their civilians. But the fact that India is underlining that this was a non-escalatory strike, that our forces did not cross the line of control, they carried out the targeted attack while staying within our territory, I think is a de-escalatory statement in nature, saying that, we had to avenge what had happened in Pahalgam, and Operation Sindoor has avenged that, but it does not mean we want to escalate the situation. That's a very important point that India is underlining, and I think by the time it is morning here, all the global headquarters, all the global capitals would have already started working the phone lines to ensure that this does not escalate further, because most had supported India's stance of avenging Pahalgam, and this has been done while being within our territory. So that's also important. You've hit Lashkar-e-Toiba. At the same time, you're trying to de-escalate and making it clear that we are not targeting civilians but terrorists who killed 26 people, 26 Indians, one Nepali and 25 Indians in Pahalgam.
I think it's also important to underline the language that's been used by the Indian Army in both its press releases, both what was put out by the ADGPR and also now what has been put out by the spokesperson of the Ministry of Defense, that 9 sites have been hit, both in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir as well as in Pakistan itself. Muridke has been hit. Bahawalpur has been hit. These are 2 very important locations. One is the headquarters of the Lashkar-e-Taiba. The other happens to be the headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed. We also know a couple of other places in Muzaffarabad, in Kotli, etc. have been hit as well. But I think the absolutely important thing that the Ministry of Defense as well as the Indian Army are saying in that press release is A, no military installations were targeted, so it's a clear signal to the Pakistani military that they want to de-link these terror launch pads from the Pakistani military establishment. So no military establishments have been hit. And number 2, I think very important signal to the Pakistan military that these strikes are non-escalatory in nature. So if Pakistan chooses not to respond to this, then India will finish this matter here. But the ball now is in Pakistan's court, and from whatever we are hearing, Pakistan is preparing for some kind of a response. Akash, if you're there, what is the defensive sort of strategy, defensive plan as far as India is concerned? We were all waking up to the 7th of May today when we were asked for these civil defense mock drills. Now it looks like it's not a mock drill anymore. This is going to be a live drill anticipating a response from Pakistan.
In fact, it's a real contingency. Zaka, in fact, there are claims that there has been some sort of attack in Srinagar, but, it is not yet confirmed. In fact, we have a calm and composed environment here in Srinagar. And Zaka, yes, you rightly pointed out, today we had, in fact, across the districts here in India, we had this mock drill, scheduled. But it seems like it's a real contingency because India has carried out, these strikes against the terror camps in Pakistan. And, once again, I want to reiterate several points that have been mentioned, by the Indian Armed Forces in the press release. First one, 9 locations. In fact, we are learning about different sort of locations that are Kotli, Ahmedpur, Sharkia, Muzaffarabad, Muridke and Faisalabad as well. So there are different locations that have been coming out, in fact, and sources are telling us, in fact, sources are telling Manoj Gupta that how the headquarters of Lashkar-e-Toiba has been hit as well. We still don't know the casualty, and we are waiting for a detailed, assessment by the Indian Armed Forces. But as of now, we are learning of the casualties. And in fact, at this point in time, the air defense around the area, specifically in Srinagar and, in Jammu and Kashmir is active. The jets of Indian Air Force are very much active, are ready to combat any sort of situation that can arise, in fact, after this point in, after this, sort of action. And also we have this DGISPR, statement where they have been saying that Pakistan will respond to it. In fact, India is very much ready, and in fact, it has been categorically mentioned that it was, not for any sort of escalation, and that's the reason why military sites were not targeted, Zaka.
All right, I think that's a very important statement to underline from the Indian Army that A, this is non-escalatory in nature. Operation Sindoor was launched in response to what happened in Pahalgam on the 22nd of April when 26 Indians as well as one Nepali citizen were killed. And very importantly, I think the line of control has not been crossed. Arunima, Akash, is there any sense that we have